Hi mathematicians, it's Mrs. Coleman here, and we're going to do some math together. Today's topic is on something called math mountains. But before we jump into it, let's warm up our brains. Earlier this school year, we worked on something in math called partners of a number. A partner in math means that you take one number and you put it together with another number, and when you add them, it creates a bigger sum. So what we're going to do to warm up our brains is you are going to see a bunch of circles, and they are going to be broken up with a break-apart stick. So our job is to warm up our brains and name the two partners that you put together to create the bigger sum. Here we go. What are the partners of 10? In this picture, there are 10 circles, and they're broken up into two parts with that break-apart stick. Think about the two numbers we put together to make 10. The answer is 2 and 8. What are the partners? The answer is 7 and 3. What are the partners? The answer is 5 and 5. Knowing and remembering how partners go together is going to help us with the math mountains. Are you ready to learn? Here we go. I want to tell you a story. Are you ready to hear it? Come close. Far, far away, there is a place filled with many, many mountains. But they're not just regular mountains. They're special mountains called math mountains. And on these math mountains live tiny tumblers that look just like this. And on top of every math mountain, there is a number. And that number tells how many tiny tumblers live on that math mountain. So if there is a 5 above the mountain, there are 5 tiny tumblers. And if there's a 7 above the mountain, there are 7 tiny tumblers. And if there's a 13, there are 13 tiny tumblers that live on that mountain. After the tiny tumblers wake up and they eat breakfast and they do their chores, they love to go play. Now the word tumble means to fall over or roll over. So after they're done with breakfast and their chores, some tiny tumblers fall to the left side of the mountain, and some tiny tumblers fall to the right side of the mountain. To make sure that none of the tiny tumblers fall too far away from the math mountain, we show numbers to make sure that we have every tiny tumbler. So on the left side of this math mountain, we know that there are 6 tiny tumblers. And on the right side of the mountain, we know that there are 7 tiny tumblers. And when you put 6 and 7 together, you get the number 13. Now that you know the story of math mountains and tiny tumblers, it's time to practice. To do our math work today, I decided to grab a whiteboard marker, a dry erase marker, and an eraser. Your job is to grab some tools to help you do some learning in math today. Here are some options. You can also use a whiteboard and dry erase marker, or you can use paper and a writing tool. You could grab some toys. You could trace in shaving cream or in rice in a pan, or you can use your finger and trace in the air. When I say pause, I want you to push the pause button and go get the materials you need for math today. Ready? Pause. Welcome back. Before we get started with our materials, I want to tell you one quick thing. Now, I told you a story about math mountains and tiny tumblers so that you can have a good picture in your head, just like this. And when we do our work today, instead of creating a mountain that looks like this, we are going to create a mountain that looks like this. And instead of drawing all of these cute tiny tumblers, we are going to create circles and pretend that they are tiny tumblers. While we do this, I still want you to keep the picture of the math mountain and the tiny tumblers in your head, just like me. In just a moment, you are going to see a math mountain on your screen. We are going to use our materials and create that math mountain together. And then we are going to draw tiny tumblers to show how many tiny tumblers live on that mountain. Are you ready? Get your materials ready? And here we go. All right, let's draw that math mountain. All right, so on this side of the math mountain, it says that there's 2 tiny tumblers playing there. So starting at the bottom where we see this number, we're going to make circles to show the tiny tumblers and build up. 1, 2. And then on this side of the mountain, there's 3 tiny tumblers playing. 1, 2. Let's check to see that we have 5 tiny tumblers altogether. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 and 3 equals 5. Let's erase it and let's do it again. All right, this is what mine looks like. So this 1 means that there's 1 tiny tumbler on this side. So let's draw it. And this 4 means that there's 4 tiny tumblers. Let's draw them. All right, let's count them to make sure that we have 5. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We did it. Let's erase and do it again. Ready for the tiny tumblers? Here we go. Let's count them together. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It matches. 3 and 3 get you 6. Erase and let's do it again. Did you draw the math mountain? Now it's time for tiny tumblers. Do it with me. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It matches. 4 and 2 get you 6. Again. This time, try drawing that math mountain and the tiny tumblers all on your own. And I'll do the same. Ready to share? Here we go. Let's do it one more time. Ready? Let's show it. 7 plus 0 Gets you 7. Now it's time to test your brain. To see what you know about math mountains and tiny tumblers, I'm going to show you a math mountain. Your job is to create that same mountain, and your next step is to put tiny tumblers on there to match the numbers. At the end, I will show you the answer. We will do this a few times. Here we go. And here is what your picture should look like. And here is what your picture should look like. How'd you do? Now let's review. This is a math mountain that you will find far, far away from here. This number indicates how many tiny tumblers live on each math mountain. And here are the tiny tumblers that match that number. Some tiny tumblers like to go to the left side of the mountain and play after breakfast and their chores. And some like to fall to the right side of the mountain to go play. This number tells us how many are on the left side. This number tells us how many are on the right side. And this symbol shows us that we add them together to get our total number. Let's talk about how you can grow your thinking around math mountains. For enrichment, you can spend some time by yourself or with somebody in your family building math mountains. Here are some that I've built. Next time we work with math mountains and tiny tumblers for our math lesson during distance learning, we're going to challenge ourselves. Take a look at this math mountain. It's a 10 math mountain, and 2 tiny tumblers are supposed to be playing on one side. But look, we have to find the unknown number for the other side of the math mountain. Thank you for joining me, kindergartners, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.